Discussion on at-risk allowable growth. Barb's going to try to explain this.
One of the things that we talked about last month, and I just shared with you because we talked about the potential of at-risk allowable growth. And through that discussion, the question came up, if we really don't want to raise taxes, but we'd like to take a look at that couple money, is there anything that we can do with that? So I got a hold of Larry Siegel at the Iowa Association of School Boards and visited with him, and then I also talked to the Department of Management just to make sure I understood what we would need to do if we did this. When the taxpayers in the SAC district voted for that voted dollar PEPAL, they gave the board permission to levy for that tax every year. And the process is that if the board doesn't wish to collect that dollar, what they have is permission, but you don't rescind the vote, you just don't add that on that line on the aid and levy worksheet when we do the budget. And Larry said, all you want to do is talk with Lisa Oakley to make sure that when you do your budget, if you don't include that dollar, that you're not going to tax for that dollar, just let her know that so she doesn't look at that and think, geez, they passed that, they taxed for that in other years. Why aren't they doing it this year? And then she could go in and think she was helping us by correcting it when in fact we didn't want to collect that dollar that would be in the PEPAL fund. So that would be the way to handle that dollar if you chose not to tax for it. And we talked at the last meeting about what it might look like if you actually decided to go with allowable growth. Sure. If you guys could share this. Yeah, you guys share. When I got into the Department of Ed login site, I can't put any numbers in for SAC because I thought I could just put numbers in and kind of pretend what it was going to look like, print it out and show you. But when I did, the only way I can get it to print is to hit update. When I hit update, I started an application. And so I'm just going to show you what Walleye Q Auburn's looked like for last year. In that first page, it's actually what the budget proposal would look like. So for SAC, we would determine professional or teacher salaries that qualified in this area. Then it includes other things like employee benefits, purchase professional services, any dropout prevention, staff development, alternative school staff, staff development, and then any other kinds of expenses that have to do with this program. So basically you're feeding a budget for what this money is going to be used to fund. And if you turn the page, there's supplies, there's property, there's other expenses. So last year, Walleye Q Auburn's budget was $181,229. That was for preschool through 12th grade. Okay. Then if you turn the next page, it's talking about the actual modified allowable growth. So it takes that budget, $181,229, and go down to line 4. It says the district at a minimum must pay for 25% of that, which would be $63,215. And it says that the budget balance then, it says that the minimum is 25%, but the district decided it was going to pay for $63,000 of it, which was about a third of it rather than the 25%. So the budget balance that Walleye Q Auburn was asking for was $118,000. Now the district per pupil cost is $55.70. Okay, certified enrollment, and gave what those numbers were for last October. So it says the maximum modified allowable growth that the district could have is 5% times that line 6 times line 7, which is $148,301. But the district actually levied for $118,014. In the very beginning of this report, you have to give a number of kids that are considered at risk, and it has definitions of how you define preschool at risk, then K-6 at risk, and 7-12 at risk kids, and you determine that number for your district. And like I said, Walleye Q Auburn has never taxed their maximum for modified allowable growth. Last year's was $118,000. This year, when I do their application, it will be for $120,000. They gave me permission to tax up to the $125,000. Now, that number, let's say that was SAC's number, $118,000 is what the board voted to do. It doesn't go on the same line of the aid and levy worksheet. It goes in a different place on the aid and levy worksheet. But you take out one and you put another one in, if that's what you chose to do. This report's due December 15th, so we've got a board meeting on the 15th, don't we? So this is probably the meeting. Let's talk about it this month.
What does this do with the time frame of the referendum for the PEPAL then?
The referendum for the PEPAL still has its same referendum length.
Okay.
So it doesn't shorten it. Just because you choose not to use it doesn't mean you gained a year on the end of it. Is that what you were?
Yes.
No. You just not used it for one of those years.
What's a dollar raise? How much money?
About 100,000.
About 100,000.
Yep. 108 or just a dollar is about a little over $100,000.
Okay, let's go down the list. The press box comes out of the PEPAL fund.
Or out of silo, one or the other.
Okay. The alternate school roof will come out of the PEPAL fund.
Or silo.
The football stands come out of the...
Either PEPAL or silo.
The
Silo
track,
has quite a
if we had to
lot.
resurface the track, which we have to do once every 10 years, where does that come out of?
Same thing.
Same thing?
Mhm.
Okay, the parking lot, which was done a few years ago, comes out of the...
Either PEPAL or once it sales tax. All of those things come out of one or the other. Transportation, so if we bought new vans or a new bus, technology comes out of either one of those funds or the other.
So the demands on that fund is quite significant when you take a look over a period of time.
There's a lot of revenue coming in also. I mean, we're having a hard time spending the revenue we get now. I think
We
that-
haven't spent it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a balance of almost $1 million in there. And yeah, we have all those projects yet, but well, I think what we were saying at the last board meeting is there a way, instead of continuing to let that PEPAL or silo fund continue to grow, is there a way that we can maybe not have as much revenue in those funds and maybe get some additional funds that we can use for teachers and alternative schools and at-risk programs and some of those type things? And that would be one avenue we could do without just giving a tax increase to the people. And I really don't think right now is the right time to have a tax increase. I'm not in favor of a tax increase right now. I can tell you that right now. I won't vote.
Are you trying to get reelected?
No, I'm not trying. I'm not in there to run, but I don't think I won't vote for a tax
To
increase.
go along with a little bit of that, this is my, 7th or 8th year on the board or something, and I think I remember that we didn't used to have the silo fund. We used to always have a PEPAL fund, and that balance, the first couple of years maybe was around $100,000. Is that true, Frank? I mean, as a guess, we were collecting $100,000-ish. We'd spend $100,000-ish, and so you always had a remaining balance of $100,000. The last couple of years, with the inclusion of the silo, it's became a huge amount that's going to continue to grow. We can do all the projects you just named, and this year and next year, our silo account would probably have just as much money in it, if not more, than it does next year. So, I think this allowable growth for the at-risk thing is the right way to go. Just by voting for this or allowing for this to be passed tonight doesn't mean we can't reevaluate whether we are or not going to tax our PEPAL or silo later. I mean, that was just one idea, one avenue to keep our tax rate basically the same. So, all that being said, I would make a motion to, exactly what I need to say, but to apply for the allowable growth for at-risk for $125,000.
What's that motion mean? That we will include it on our...
Doesn't mean we will, it means we can, right? Don't we have to actually...
Actually, when we make the application, then the School Budget Review Committee has to approve that application, and that all happens just before we do our budget.
So at the
I
time
don't know
of the
that they
budget,
would just
we could either vote to include it or not to include it at that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.